Americans are voting in 6 states as part of the lead up to the midterms, and we have a very big projection that shows President Trump's continued persuasive power with Republican voters. Let's go straight to the 4th District of Kentucky, where Ed Gallrein is the projected, according to CBS News, winner over incumbent Thomas Massie in the most expensive primary election for a seat in the House ever. Some $33 million spent. We're going to run through all the rest of our boards here very quickly. Also, Kentucky Senate Republican primary, Andy Barr, the CBS News projected victor over Republican Daniel Cameron. Georgia Senate Republican primary, Mike Collins, currently the leader over Derek Dooley and Earl Buddy Carter. What's crucial there is, does any of these candidates get over 50.1? If not, there'll be a runoff. Same thing applies in the Georgia Republican gubernatorial primary, where currently Burt Jones, endorsed by President Trump, has a lead over Rick Jackson, though it's narrow, Brad Raffensperger, and the rest of the field. Moving on to the Georgia governor primary on the Democratic side, former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, big lead, 60% currently over the field. Interesting thing there, does she get over 50% plus one? And if she does, she can avoid a June 16th runoff. Moving on. That's it. We have Ed O'Keefe, who's at Thomas Massie headquarters in Kentucky with the results and maybe some reaction. Ed?
Well, Major, we were told a few minutes ago that the congressman would be out here to speak shortly, and it appears he's doing that as news organizations like us declare his opponent the victor in the most expensive U.S. House primary ever in American history. More than $32 million spent, most of it against the sitting congressman by groups supportive of the president or concerned about the congressman's position on Israel. He told us yesterday that typically, if this were any other year where the president wasn't involved, he'd probably win this primary with 80% of the vote. But once the spending began, the margins started to close, and he conceded it was going to be a narrow race. If you look at the map of this district, which stretches from the eastern suburbs of Louisville up here to the suburbs just on the other side of the Ohio River from Cincinnati, and then on over to northeastern Kentucky towards the border with West Virginia, it is a district that is mostly rural, and it is those rural parts of this district in this very Republican state, at least presidential and federal level, that have gone for Ed Gallrein tonight, in essence taking cues from the president, despite the fact that Thomas Massie has represented this region since 2012 and has done so and been reelected in some other tough years for Republicans and in some other tough years for him and his relationship with the president. Gallrein got an 11th hour boost on Monday from the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, who took time out of an official schedule to stop just outside the Cincinnati airport on this side of the river and spent about 25 minutes speaking on Gallrein's behalf, saying that the president needs a more supportive member of Congress from this corner of Kentucky to help pad Republican majorities in Washington. But Massie now becomes just the latest in a long series of Republicans who've been booted from office because they crossed hairs with the president. Massie reminded us he has about a 90% voting record with House Republicans. It's that 10%, though, that upsets the White House because he's opposed to the war in Iran. He pushed for more transparency with the Epstein documents. He's been a big critic of foreign aid and other excessive federal spending, and all of that put him at odds with the president, who called him the worst Republican congressman in the country, and over the last several days relentlessly called on Kentucky Republicans to boot him from office. It appears they've done that tonight.
Ed, what do we know about Ed Gallrein, who is the projected winner in this contest?
He's a former state Senate candidate, fifth-generation cattle farmer, and a Navy SEAL. And as the president likes to say about guys he likes in this business, he comes out of, in the president's view, central casting. Tall guy, native to Kentucky, obviously, and someone who has said on the stump, I will be a reliable vote for the president. In fact, he was asked in an interview with the New York Times, you got any interesting committee assignments you'd like? And his answer was, well, I guess I'll check with the speaker and the president and the vice president. That's not typically what you hear from a congressional candidate who's a member of a separate branch, but that he's willing to take his cues on almost everything from the White House shows you how loyal he would be to the president.
Ed O'Keefe, stand by, and when Thomas Massie comes to the podium, we will take our audience there live. In the meantime, to explain it all, I want to bring in CBS News Elections and Surveys Director Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, we love to show our work. How did we get to this projection in this race so early in the evening?
So let me show you exactly how I did it. Here's your breakdown of the vote, 54-45. That's for Gallrein. Now, if you look at what we have in, that's about 3/4 of what we expect the total vote to be. So what would Massie have needed to catch up? I'll show you. And it's 61%. But he's not getting 61%. And there's no place he's going to get 61%. That's how you make the projection. The other thing, Major, I want to show you is a larger context about this, because Ed was talking, you were talking about the president's influence. Some of that comes from voters, especially from voters who are going to vote in a primary like this. A little bit smaller turnout, a little bit more concentrated ideological electorate. So I'll show you this from our national poll. Asked Republicans, what do you want in a candidate? Well, Republicans generally want somebody who will support at least most of what Donald Trump wants, if not everything. But take a look at this. Among MAGA Republicans, you get almost 9 in 10 that want that, at least most, if not everything Donald Trump wants. And that puts some of the impetus, some of the context behind what you saw in this campaign and ultimately Massie going down.
Anthony, let's go back to the map, what you were just showing us, because I want our audience to understand past his prologue, we believe, typically in these projections, meaning what they have done up until that 75% of the vote total is reflective of what they're likely to do with the remaining 25%. You said he needs 61% of the outstanding vote. What does our internal projection suggest it's going to actually be?
He's tracking right about where he is. He's tracking right about 47%. And, you know, all of this is patterns. So you look at county after county, and we can just rattle them off, but you're going to start to get the idea. Yeah, there's a couple of larger ones where Massie's doing well, but one after another, and you see Gallrein with that consistent lead. Consistency is everything. So when you project, yes, it's going out to what is still remaining out there, and it's not enough for Massie.